So we'll talk about seat a little bit more. Excuse me. Well, let's assume we just got on this horse. And this is usually what happens to most horses today. Very few horses that have been handled very much as young horses do much of anything when we crawl on them the first time. Probably our biggest problem is figuring out how to get them to go, okay? And so we crawl on them because they've been brushed and they've been combed and they've been pampered and they've been petted, and some of them have been blanketed and some of them have been hauled all over everywhere. And so a lot of horses are pretty quiet when we get on them. And so we crawl on and nothing happens, okay? You read all the storybooks, you know, and they say, hang on, you know, your horse will take off pitching and bucking and you better be grabbing on for dear life. Most modern horses don't do that, okay? Most horses, you crawl on, this is what they do, okay? And so the next thing you got to do is figure them how to go. Now, you might notice that I've got a couple little straps around this saddle. These are called night latch straps, and these actually are useful for riding colts that want to jump and hump and buck around and act nasty, okay? It kind of came from the old days when they did the trail rides, and the guys were out riding in the dark, watching those cattle at night, and something would spook the cattle, and they would start stampeding. A lot of times, all those cowboys could do is turn their horses loose and go with the cattle, and they just hung on for dear life. And so sometimes these are kind of helpful. These are a lot easier to hang on to than a saddle horn if you have a horse that's kind of spastic and wants to jump and splatter around a little bit. So, you know, even though I've ridden horses for a lot of years, sometimes it's handy just to have a handhold if you got one that you don't know what he's going to do. Okay? So, we got on our horse, and he does nothing, okay? You notice that I've got a real gentle, mild bit on this horse. This is a snaffle bit. It's got a big old thick mouthpiece. It's jointed in the middle, and so it's about as mild a bit as we can put on a horse. I also have what I call a running martingale. The reins run through the little rings, and if this horse wants to throw his head up in the air, that's a little bit of a safety precaution. Really doesn't do anything toward pulling his head down because I've got it adjusted, you know, where if I pull straight back on these reins, there's no real pressure on that martingale. So it's not designed to pull a horse's head down. It's designed if he wants to be a blithering idiot, and especially on problem horses that want to rear up in the air and throw their head and pitch a hissy fit and argue, sometimes it can help be a little bit of a training aid to you. The nice thing about this also is a horse really doesn't know it's there. It's not like a tie down that forces his head down. It's just kind of a training aid that's kind of a safety factor. This is the first time I've ever seen this horse, never been on him till today, and so I had no idea what was going to happen. And so I'm starting off with the mildest equipment I can use, but I've got a little bit of a safety latch thing there ready. So what are we going to do? First of all, we have to get this horse to move. And if this is day one, we're going to just kind of let him wander around. All we want to do is just get him to move. So I might cluck to him, I might wiggle my legs, and this is usually what horses do. Now, when he started moving, what did I do with my legs? I quit, okay? And I'm going to just let this horse kind of walk around because all I wanted him to do was move, okay? And if he would stop or slow down, then I might have to squeeze my legs or bump my legs a little more to keep him moving. Right now, I just want him moving forward, okay? I can't steer a horse unless he's moving forward. So I've got to create forward movement in this horse first of all. Sometimes that's a harder deal to do than you think. Just get him to walk, okay? Let him relax. Most horses don't do anything. You don't have to take a death grip on them. You know, just kind of let them walk around. And usually a person on their back is no big deal. Probably the saddle scares horses more than anything else, the girth being cinched up. So Monte already told you how to saddle a horse, but most colts, if they're going to buck, probably will buck when they feel that girth around their belly and move the first time with a saddle on. So I'm assuming that we've already done that. We've got him saddled up, we've lunged him a little bit, we've chased him around the pen a little bit. If he's going to hump and buck with the saddle, let that get out of him until he just kind of is willing to maneuver around. Now let's say we can keep this horse moving. Doesn't seem to be a problem with this horse. He's content to just walk around, and so far we've let him walk around. But now we're going to start to steer. So we want to make this as simple as we can for the horse to figure out. So we're going to start off using direct reins. So I'm going to take my left hand and I'm going to pull his nose around to the left till he steps across a step or two. Then I'm going to drop it and let him walk straight again. Ask him to turn. I'll pull his nose a little bit to the left, let him step across, drop it, let him walk. Walking is the reward. He gets to walk straight.